Lisa McVeigh sat alone in her room, the weight of the world pressing down on her shoulders. The darkness outside mirrored the turmoil within her soul. It had been a night of desperation, a night where she felt like she had reached the end of her rope. The pain and sadness that had consumed her for so long had become unbearable. As she stared out the window, contemplating her next move, a sense of hopelessness washed over her. The thought of ending her own life seemed like the only way to escape the suffocating darkness that enveloped her. But just as she was about to take that final step, fate intervened in the most unexpected way. In the blink of an eye, Lisa's life took a terrifying turn. A man, shrouded in darkness, appeared out of nowhere and snatched her away from the edge of despair. The shock of the sudden abduction paralyzed her, leaving her unable to comprehend what was happening. Fear gripped her heart as she realized the magnitude of the situation. The man's intentions became clear as he subjected Lisa to unspeakable horrors. He violated her body and soul, leaving her broken and shattered. But even in the midst of the unimaginable pain, Lisa's spirit refused to be extinguished. She found the strength to beg for mercy, to plead for her release. Miraculously, her pleas were answered. The man, for reasons unknown, decided to grant her request and set her free. Lisa's mind was filled with a mix of relief and confusion as she found herself back in the safety of her own home. She had survived the horrific ordeal, but the scars would forever remain etched upon her. With a trembling voice, Lisa shared her harrowing experience with those closest to her, but instead of finding solace and understanding, she was met with disbelief and skepticism. Friends and family dismissed her story as a figment of her imagination, unable to comprehend the depths of her trauma. It was a lonely and isolating experience, leaving Lisa feeling more alone than ever before. However, amidst the sea of doubt, there was one person who listened intently to Lisa's words. Detective James Anderson, a seasoned investigator with a keen intuition, sensed that there was more to her story than met the eye. He had been tirelessly working on a case involving a dangerous serial killer, and Lisa's description of her abductor struck a chord within him. Detective Anderson's instincts told him that Lisa's kidnapper could be the very person he had been hunting for months. He saw beyond the skepticism and believed in her truth. Determined to uncover the identity of the man who had tormented Lisa, he embarked on a relentless pursuit of justice. As Lisa's world teetered on the edge of despair, Detective Anderson became her beacon of hope. He promised her that he would do everything in his power to bring her abductor to justice and ensure that no one else would suffer at his hands. Together, they would face the darkness head-on, seeking the truth and fighting for redemption. And so, Lisa's decision to end her life had inadvertently set in motion a series of events that would forever change her life and the lives of those around her. It was a decision that would lead her down a path of unimaginable pain, but also one of resilience, strength, and ultimately, whispers of mercy. As the moon hung low in the night sky, casting an eerie glow over the quiet streets of Florida, Lisa McVeigh found herself standing on the precipice of despair. The weight of her pain and anguish had become unbearable, pushing her to contemplate a tragic end to her young life. Little did she know that this fateful night would take an unexpected turn, plunging her into a nightmare she could never have imagined. In the depths of her desperation, Lisa made a decision that would change her life forever. With a heavy heart and tear-stained cheeks, she walked alone through the dimly lit streets, seeking solace in the darkness. It was during this solitary journey that she unknowingly caught the attention of a sinister figure lurking in the shadows. Unbeknownst to Lisa, she had become the target of a predator, a man driven by his dark desires. With a calculated precision, he seized the opportunity, swiftly and silently snatching her away from the safety of the world she once knew. In an instant, her life was irrevocably altered, and she was thrust into a terrifying ordeal. For days on end, Lisa was held captive in a secluded location, her every move controlled by her captor. The man's intentions were clear, as he subjected her to unspeakable acts of violence and degradation. But amidst the unimaginable horror, Lisa clung to a glimmer of hope, a flicker of resilience that refused to be extinguished. Throughout her captivity, Lisa's voice echoed through the walls of her prison, pleading for mercy and begging to be released. Her pleas were met with indifference, her cries falling on deaf ears. Yet she persisted, refusing to surrender to the darkness that threatened to consume her. In the face of unspeakable cruelty, she found the strength to fight for her survival. Then, as if by some cruel twist of fate, the tides shifted. A day later, her captor unexpectedly relented, granting her the freedom she so desperately craved. Lisa's release was as sudden as her abduction, leaving her bewildered and disoriented as she stumbled back into the world she had been torn away from. Returning home, Lisa's heart was heavy with the weight of her harrowing experience. She longed for solace and understanding, hoping that her loved ones would provide the support she so desperately needed. But as she shared her story, she was met with disbelief and skepticism. The unimaginable horrors she had endured seemed too far-fetched for those around her to comprehend. Amidst the sea of doubt, there was one person who listened intently to Lisa's words. Detective James Anderson, a seasoned investigator with a keen eye for detail, sensed that there was more to her story than met the eye. He had been tirelessly working on a case involving a dangerous serial killer, and Lisa's description of her captor struck a chord within him. With a growing suspicion that Lisa's kidnapper was the very same individual he had been hunting, Detective Anderson embarked on a relentless pursuit of the truth. He delved into the depths of the criminal's past, meticulously piecing together fragments of evidence in an attempt to connect the dots. As the investigation unfolded, the detective's conviction grew stronger. The pieces of the puzzle began to align, revealing a chilling portrait of a sadistic killer who had eluded capture for far too long. The race against time had begun, as the police mobilized their resources in a desperate search for the elusive predator. In the midst of this chaos, Lisa found herself caught between the horrors of her past and the pursuit of justice. Her testimony became a crucial piece of evidence, a testament to her strength and resilience in the face of unimaginable adversity. The trial that followed would test her resolve, as the defense and prosecution battled for the truth to be revealed. In the next chapter, the horrific ordeal, the details of Lisa's harrowing experience will be unveiled, shedding light on the depths of her suffering and the unwavering spirit that carried her through. As the whispers of mercy grow louder, the pursuit of justice intensifies, leading to a climactic confrontation that will forever change the lives of those involved. Lisa's heart pounded in her chest as she sat in the dimly lit room, her hands trembling uncontrollably. The air was heavy with fear, suffocating her every breath. She could feel the cold sweat trickling down her forehead as she tried to make sense of the nightmare she found herself in. The man who had kidnapped her was a monster, a sadistic predator who took pleasure in inflicting pain and suffering. Lisa's mind replayed the horrifying events that had unfolded over the past day. She had been subjected to unspeakable acts of violence, her innocence stolen from her in the cruelest of ways. Every fiber of her being screamed for mercy, for release from the clutches of her tormentor. But Lisa refused to let despair consume her. She clung to a glimmer of hope, a flicker of strength that burned within her. With every ounce of courage she could muster, she pleaded for her life, begging for mercy. The hours stretched into what felt like an eternity, each passing moment a reminder of the unimaginable horrors she had endured. But then, against all odds, the unexpected happened. The man, her captor, made a chilling decision. He released her. As Lisa stumbled out into the blinding sunlight, her body battered and bruised, she felt a mix of relief and disbelief. She had survived the ordeal, but the scars, both physical and emotional, would forever be etched into her soul. Returning home, Lisa mustered the strength to share her harrowing experience with her loved ones. But instead of finding solace and understanding, she was met with skepticism and doubt. No one believed her. They dismissed her words as the delusions of a traumatized mind. Except for one person. Detective James Anderson had been following the case of a dangerous serial killer who had been terrorizing the city for months. The pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place as he listened to Lisa's account of her abduction. The details she provided matched the patterns and modus operandi of the elusive killer. Determined to bring justice to Lisa and put an end to the reign of terror, Detective Anderson launched a full-scale investigation. He gathered evidence, interviewed witnesses, and connected the dots that would lead him to the sadistic predator who had violated Lisa's life. The police search intensified as time became a precious commodity. Every passing moment meant another potential victim at the hands of the deranged killer. The race against time had begun, and the stakes were higher than ever. As the investigation unfolded, the truth began to emerge. The pieces of the puzzle fell into place, revealing a chilling portrait of a man consumed by darkness. The detective's relentless pursuit of justice led him down a twisted path, uncovering the killer's past and the depths of his depravity. Finally, the moment of reckoning arrived. The final confrontation between Detective Anderson and the sadistic killer would determine the fate of not only Lisa, but also the countless victims who had suffered at his hands. In a courtroom filled with tension and anticipation, Lisa's testimony became the catalyst for justice. The trial began, with the defense's strategy aimed at discrediting Lisa's account and casting doubt on her credibility. But the prosecution presented a compelling case, weaving together the evidence and testimonies that painted a vivid picture of the monster who had haunted the city. The jury deliberated, their decision carrying the weight of justice, and when the judge's gavel fell, the verdict was delivered. Guilty. The courtroom erupted in a mix of relief and closure as justice was finally served. But the aftermath of the trial was just the beginning of Lisa's healing process. Coping with the trauma she had endured would be a lifelong journey, one that required immense strength and resilience. She sought support from therapists, support groups, and her loved ones, slowly rebuilding her life piece by piece. Lisa's story became an inspiration to others who had suffered similar horrors. She found solace in sharing her experiences, offering hope to those who felt trapped in the darkness. Through her resilience and determination, she discovered the power of inner strength and the ability to embrace life once again. The pursuit of justice did not end with the trial. Detective Anderson continued his investigation, unraveling the killer's past and ensuring that no stone was left unturned. The final confrontation between the detective and the killer brought closure and redemption, as the truth was laid bare for all to see. Whispers of hope echoed through the city as Lisa's story became a beacon of light in the face of darkness. She moved forward, inspiring others to find their own strength and resilience. The power of hope and the human spirit prevailed, reminding everyone that even in the darkest of times, there is always a whisper of mercy. Lisa's heart pounded in her chest as she lay on the cold, damp floor of the dimly lit room. Her body ached from the relentless abuse she had endured over the past day. The man who had kidnapped her seemed to take pleasure in her suffering, his sadistic actions leaving her broken and terrified. But amidst the pain and despair, Lisa clung to a glimmer of hope, desperately begging for mercy. "Please," she pleaded, her voice trembling with fear. "Let me go. I won't tell anyone what happened here. Just let me go." The man's cold eyes bore into her, his face twisted with a sickening grin. He seemed to revel in her desperation, enjoying the power he held over her. But Lisa refused to give up. She knew that her only chance of survival lay in convincing him to release her. Tears streamed down her face as she continued to plead, her voice growing hoarse from the strain. She recounted her dreams, her aspirations, and the people who loved her. She shared her deepest fears and regrets, hoping that somewhere within this monster there was a shred of humanity that would respond to her pleas. As the hours ticked by, Lisa's desperation grew. She knew that time was running out, that her life hung in the balance. But she refused to let despair consume her. She clung to the belief that her words, her vulnerability, would touch something deep within her captor's twisted soul. Days turned into nights, And Lisa's pleas for mercy became a constant refrain. She begged for her freedom, for a chance to see her family again, for the opportunity to reclaim her shattered life. Each word she uttered was a testament to her strength and resilience, a defiance against the darkness that threatened to consume her. And then, against all odds, the unexpected happened. The man, who had reveled in her suffering, suddenly relented. He released Lisa, setting her free from the hellish nightmare she had endured. As she stumbled out into the blinding sunlight, she felt a mix of relief and disbelief. She had survived, against all odds. Returning home, Lisa's heart was heavy with the weight of her ordeal. She longed for comfort and understanding, for someone to believe her story. But as she shared her harrowing experience with friends and family, their disbelief only deepened her pain. They couldn't fathom the horrors she had endured, and their skepticism wounded her deeply. Amidst the sea of doubt, there was one person who listened intently to Lisa's words: Detective Mark Anderson. He had been investigating a series of kidnappings and murders in the area, and Lisa's story struck a chord within him. He saw the determination in her eyes, the unwavering strength that had carried her through the darkest of nights. Detective Anderson knew that Lisa's kidnapper could be the dangerous serial killer he had been tirelessly searching for. He saw the pieces of the puzzle falling into place, connecting the dots that would lead him to the truth. With renewed determination, he vowed to bring justice to Lisa and the countless other victims who had suffered at the hands of this monster. As Lisa's story gained credibility through Detective Anderson's investigation, the police launched a search for her captor. The race against time had begun, as they knew that every passing moment brought the potential for more innocent lives to be lost. The community rallied together, determined to bring an end to the reign of terror that had plagued their town. In the midst of the chaos, Lisa found solace in the knowledge that her voice had been heard. She had begged for mercy, and though it had come at a great cost, she had been granted a second chance at life. With each passing day, she grew stronger, determined to find healing and reclaim her sense of self. Little did she know that her journey was far from over. The whispers of mercy would guide her through the trials and tribulations that lay ahead as she sought justice, closure, and ultimately, redemption.